Welcome to the Arsenal show. We are live and it's time to discuss what happened on the weekend. The Fulham game, the 2-2 draw, the one that makes everyone feel like it's a loss. Was it a system error or do we need to be patient? Do we need to bide our time? Does the manager know best? Is it time we look back at what we say and practice what we preach and trust the process? Or does Mikel need to change it? I'm joined by Steve K and Melvin Marks. How you doing, boys?
Yeah.
Good evening, Corinne. Good evening, everybody.
Go over the weekend. Over the weekend.
Yeah.
We got Ryan Fitz in the chat as well. Docking points for a late start, lads. What's your thoughts, Ryan? Do you think that?
Harsh.
Do you think that that there's a problem with the Arsenal system, or do you think Arsenal fans need to bide their time and be patient? Great tedious link. Thank you very much. You know my skills, right? And we've got Simon in there as well. Simon, what's your thoughts? Do you think that Arsenal fans need to be a bit more patient, or do you think there's a problem with the system? We spoke to Steve on the weekend with the post-match reaction. So I'm going to start with you, Melvin. 2-2 draw against Fulham, a disappointing result. What's your thoughts? What was your take on the game?
I thought it was a disappointing performance, to be quite honest. It wasn't. I mean, had we won that 2-1, which we should have done against 10 men with 15 minutes to go with the extra time and all that, it would have painted over a few of the cracks. But we were poor. I mean, the first half, Martinelli couldn't even cross the ball to keep it in. It went for throw-ons. It went far wide. I mean, all of them were off. I mean, obviously the first goal was like people just sitting down, getting there, seeing where they've left their tea, make sure they're not going to kick it over, and looked up and we're 1-0 down. It was ridiculous. I mean, I know Saka took a lot of the blame, but I think you've got to look at the guys behind him. Where were they? Was it the system that we don't have anyone there? But, you know, it's not a natural right back we're playing. So was he not in the right back position, Partey? But what got me from the goal was not so much that. Am I being too critical? And you're an ex-goalkeeper, Kieran. I mean, might still be playing, I don't know. But Ramsdale, he seemed to panic. He seemed to go one way or the other. Had he stood his ground, I reckon he'd have got it. I genuinely think he would have got it. So what do you think? Do you think I'm being a bit harsh on him?
I do think that in this situation, people are looking for not a scapegoat, but a reason as to why that goal went in. And when you look at it, and when you look at how Ramsdale's ended up scurrying towards the ball, how Saka's made the misplaced pass and Partey's not in a position, which I'll get to in a second. But what I will say from a goalkeeper's point of view is we have to anticipate the ball before you've taken that shot. So where he's well out of position because he has to start high as a goalkeeper, because that's what Arsenal play. They play a sweeper keeper. And he's anticipated that Pereira's going to dink it in that far corner where he's not just out of position, out of the box, he's well to one side. So he's making a move to go back to that position, and where Pereira's scuffed it, it's gone in the other. It's gone in the other post. I think he was caught off guard. It's not something I'd point out the goalkeeper. If it was, I would say. But for me, it does go back to Saka's misplaced pass. I look back at it again. Ben White's there in a position who could take the ball off him, and Saka's just passed it without really looking. Can Ramsdale take some? I don't want to even say blame, because he's caught off guard. He's caught off guard in a position where everyone was caught off guard from there, because he's well out of his area. Probably don't even know where he is properly. And it was a misplaced shot. So I don't know. I wouldn't be pointing at Ramsdale. It doesn't look good because of the way he's having to scurry over, because his body weight's gone to one side and he's having to scurry and basically fallen. in the goal. But I don't know. I'm not sure whether these same conversations would necessarily be coming up. I'm not saying with you if David Raya wasn't brought in. And I think that now, at the moment, Ramsdale's under a microscope with everything that he does. Even when he has a good game, people are trying to pick out stuff. So, but yeah, look, everyone is well within their rights to point out the fact that maybe his footwork could have been better, but it's not something I would personally point out. That's my point. That's my take on it.
Fair enough.
Steve?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on the game? Is it changed since the weekend? Mine has slightly changed a little bit. I've seen some of the reaction of quite a few fans. So I think my reaction's changed a little bit because I've seen their reaction. So it's a bit like I think we might be going a bit over the top here. A draw, 3 games into the season. It is disappointing. It is frustrating, but I see people screaming and shouting at the TV.
Yeah.
It's just a bit much. What's your take?
Yeah, I think I've seen them same fans, and there's probably the same reaction. I mean, yeah. I mean, it was disappointing. There's no, getting around that. There's no way of making it look any better. It was poor, and when you look at the players on the pitch, you can't really pick out anybody of note in the starting 11. Probably apart from Declan Rice, and for me anyway, probably Ben White, who the more I think about it, it's probably one of the most unrated players, not only at Arsenal but in the Premier League, because he very rarely has a bad game, Ben White. But there was awful. I mean, we'll probably get into later more about the system, so I won't go too into that. But it was disappointing, and the players on the pitch, I don't know what off it. Why they were so off it. Going back to like the Saka, the goal, the first goal. I agree with you that for me that's Saka. 100% Saka. That was absolutely, he switched off, and that was poor. And I think from that, you've had like a plethora of blame going to other individuals, and probably the only player who hasn't got any blame, who for me was the worst player on the pitch on the weekend, was Bukayo Saka, but nobody says it. No, nobody will say it. He missed an absolute sitter that I could have scored, and he done a ridiculous back pass, and which give away the goal. He was awful, along with Martinelli. Do they get a mention? You've probably seen the same fans pick out again a plethora of players. Very rarely was Saka mentioned. Very rarely was Martinelli mentioned. Was Trossard mentioned? How bad he was. Saliba wasn't great. No.
Saliba was not good at all. Misplaced
not
passes
at all.
left, right, and
but
centre.
he's all like.
Once.
But you get out the scapegoats. The scapegoat people come out. Arsenal fans love a scapegoat. You said it about Raya and Ramsdale. This have a go at Raya because Ramsdale's there, or who else can we look at? Or Saka had a bad one, didn't he? Or Martinelli, but we can't have a go at him, can we? Havertz, Chelsea, Havertz, system not work. Let's have a go at him. No, Saka and Martinelli were pants. They were worse than Kai Havertz the other day, and it has to be said. I don't care, people probably watching this on Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. We have to call it out when the way it is. They were absolutely terrible. Odegaard as well. They were pants. And there was other players who weren't good, but again, that goes into more of the system. But I don't blame them as much. But weren't good, mate. Weren't good.
What was disappointing as well? Sorry, Kieran. So we're talking about the game. Their equaliser. They had 9 men they could attack with, having somebody sent off. So they had 9 men up in the box. We had 11 in the box, plus one of our players can use his hands. We still couldn't defend. It's so that was a Hackney Marshes goal. I'm sorry.
And the ball went through a gap of about that big, the only space it could have got through.
Yeah.
I've watched that game multiple times.
And who were the three players?
No one's following their man.
And who were the 3 players? Who were the 3 players to blame?
Rice and Saka was 2. Rice and Saka.
Rice and Saka. For me, Rice and Saka.
Are we talking what one are we talking about?
The equaliser.
Rice has not followed his man. Rice has not followed his man.
I'm adding another 3 different ones to that.
And maybe could probably speak to Saka, but Saka's also not following him. To be fair, Saka's basically just standing there. And Pereira just moves in and hits the ball and attacks it back.
But before that, you have to go back before that to the reason why how we got into that position. Zinchenko's cock up. Giving the ball away. Right, Martinelli acting like a clown in the corner flag, trying to get a free kick. Like he does, which he really is one thing that does wind me up about Martinelli. He does it a lot. He's trying to get a free kick in, and he's falling over, and in the way ends up giving a corner away by flapping around. But again, we Arsenal fans don't. Oh, you can't have a go at Zinchenko and Saka and Martinelli and Rice. Can't let them. They'll go and find someone else.
What surprised me about Zinchenko, when he gave the ball away, the guy was going past him, and being an ex-Man City player, you'd have thought he'd have taken him down. He had a small try to tackle him with his right leg, which is not his favourite, but you thought he might have taken one for the team. He wouldn't have got sent off because there's plenty of players, and they would have got a free kick, which you think you got half a chance of. Actually, it's not 9 against 11; it's 8 against 11 because someone's got to take the free kick for them. We still couldn't defend the ball. Going back to that, but for a free kick, I mean, you got half a chance of clearing it. So it's so disappointing. On number one, playing the wrong odds, Zinchenko, when he tried that pass, and secondly, not failing the guy. But there we go.
Just take him out. Yeah,
I agree. Melvin, what? So we go 1-0 down. Arsenal come back in the game and keep trying to batter down the door, but Fulham are defending very, very well. Second half comes, changes are made. Eddie Nketiah and Zinchenko and Fabio Vieira come on to make the big difference. How much of a difference did they make, and what did they bring to the game that the others weren't?
Well, first of all, I think that Eddie just showed a lot of energy, directness. He showed, I mean, as you know, I'm not the greatest fan, but he showed like he's definitely improved. He's growing on me. He's definitely growing on me. And he ran the line very well. I mean, he was just everywhere. He was up front. He was just chasing the ball down, and he looked like he had the confidence to go past people. When it comes to Zinchenko, apart from his mistake, I thought he was superb before the mistake. He changed it on that left-hand side. We had complete control of the ball over there. It was fantastic. And Vieira, well, he was like possessed. Obviously, I don't know what's that. Must have had a good meal last week. But he looked absolutely terrific. We know he's got the skills, but if you're getting pushed off the ball or you're getting fouled and caught on the ball, that little bit of confidence goes where you're not going to try those little dink passes, which he's very, very good at. And I thought it would have been a fitting end. It would have been, the stadium would have actually gone berserk.
That volley.
That volley. He, as good as it was, Kieran, he hit it right above the goalkeeper's head.
Yeah, it was too good. Yeah, it was too sweet.
He should have been the corner, the corner. Then the place the roof would have blown.
Should have shinned it like Rooney or something.
Yeah. But that would have been a fitting. Then he would have gone round, been carried round on someone's shoulder after the game. It was, which is a shame, really. But did we deserve to win? I don't think we did, because I thought first and second. Well, before the guys came on, before we got our act together, every shot we did was at the goalkeeper. He had a magnetic shield on his chest. I couldn't believe how many shots were at him. He didn't have
or
to
over.
Yeah, I don't think he had to make a true what you call save. It was just basically at him. And the ones that weren't at him were 12 miles past the post of the bar and everything. So I didn't think we deserved to win it. I'd taken it. Of course we would have done. And it would have, as I said before, people over the cracks. But the whole system is not working. It's the touch of the old system's working, send more money, which it isn't. It just doesn't. It's basically, I don't know why. We were done so well last year. And this year we should do better because we've got the same players that took us there, apart from Xhaka. We have got an upgrade. Xhaka was very good last season. We have got an upgrade, and we've got other people as well. And I think, and the youngsters are another year older. And I think, why change everything? We should have done this in America. This system, or pre-season. It never charity shield. That's the time to do it. Not in the league. I mean, it might work out the greatest system going, but what's it going to cost us to find out?
Yeah, I agree. Steve, 19 shots on goal to Fulham's 8, 11 shots on target to Fulham's 3, 72% possession over the 90 minutes, 680 passes, 90% pass accuracy. Is the system not working, or is it just people need to get used to it? Do we need to be patient? What's your thoughts?
Well, when you read out them stats, you'd say it was working, wouldn't you? which is strange, isn't it? Because like we're all saying that it's not working. It's for me, it's not the system. For me, it's not. You read out the stats there. You've said you can see. I can see what Arteta's trying to do. I know what he wants to do, but where I'm critical of Arteta, first I felt he just played the wrong players from the off on the weekend. But the system I'm for, but you've got to play the players in the right system. You've got to play the right players in there.
So it's the personnel, not the system.
It's the personnel, not the system. I get the system. I get it. Yeah. A lot of people were saying, like with me and you, we've probably all watched Melvin. We probably all watched these crazy people going, man, I don't know what's going on. I can't work it out. I don't know what they're doing. Right? We all probably know what he's doing. We all know what he's trying to do, but it's not going to work properly until you've got the right players in the system. So, has he got the players there to play in the system? Maybe we should give Arteta a little bit of a break to say that, okay, the players ain't really there for him to play there. Okay, could have played Zinchenko there on Saturday. He decided to never. That for me, that was a mistake. Maybe he looked fit enough when he come on. Maybe you should have started him. But you can't play Thomas Partey as a right back. You know, he can't play. You certainly can't play there Sunday against Man United. I mean, do you know what I mean? I'll be like, my eye will be behind the sofa in the caravan. Do you know what I mean? Just with not trying not to watch. But he's brought in players, and to be fair to him, we haven't seen those players playing in positions yet. You know, he wanted Timber to play as a right back inverted. He wants Zinchenko to play left side inverted. We haven't seen that yet. And that's what frees Havertz up. You know, he's not a Xhaka. He can't play defensive like Xhaka. They're totally different players. We can't compare the two because they're totally different. So we can't really say, Xhaka was better. We might as well have kept Xhaka. You can't compare. But he seems to be wanting to stick with his three at the back, but you can't. You can't at the moment. You can't stick with it. And everything breaks down. If you haven't got the right personnel in the right position, everything else will break down. Yes, you read out the stats, you can see the passing, you see the chances and all that. But it was like Saka was, they play wide too wide. You know, they need to come in more. You know, they're being tucked out on the touchlines. They're not, for some reason, that they ain't happening. They're not making the runs that like what Xhaka used to come through, and partly that's because Havertz's not getting the ball enough because You know, if he once he gets the ball, he can play him through, and they can make. Maybe that's one of the reasons. I don't know, but for me, it's not the system. It's the it's the personnel. But at the moment, the personnel's not there. So what do we do? You know, it's the big question. What do we do again on Sunday against Manchester United? Will he play the three at the back again? Will he go back to a four? I don't know.
Yeah, Wright says Party Planet right back having White at centre half affects almost the entire side. It's forcing existing pairings to be unfamiliar. Saka and White on the right hand side, Gabriel and Saliba as a pair of centre back, and I think that's what we've been talking about. I don't know how much because we did kind of revert back to something a little bit more familiar the other day in the end, but it was kind of forced. But I don't know whether it will change back to our normal partnerships now that we have Zinchenko back in that left back role, who can now play the inverted fullback, and we go back to Gabriel, White, and Saliba. I hope so. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what he does do.
See, if Zinchenko does play as the left, if he does bring him in at left back, then he can't play the three, can he? Zinchenko.
No, he can't play part. He can't play. If Zinchenko, for me, if Zinchenko comes back in,
got to be a four, isn't it?
He can't play Partey
at
the centre right back, because it means you're putting Partey in as one of the centre backs.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. You can't do it because it doesn't work. It would work if Timber was there, because Timber could be slot in and be the centre back as well. It works if White's there, because White is a centre back and also a right back as well. So he can play the right back and then slot in at centre back into the three when Zinchenko pushes into the centre midfield. But Partey can't slot into that three. If Partey starts slotting into that centre back role, it'll be an absolute mess. Just one thing I wanted to point out on the thing, because I know a lot of people, I think we spoke about on the weekend, is the system making putting people in unfamiliar places, and it's actually not too much. I mean, if you just look at the situation here, yes, Partey would be the right back, but Ben White is actually slotted in at that right back position. The pass that Saka made should have gone to Ben White, but instead he's made a pass where he really hasn't looked, and he just played it in between Declan Rice and Ben White. And that was the problem there for that goal there. I think if it was the same situation where White was the right back, I think we'd be looking at a very similar picture. So I don't think the system is impacting us too much in a situation like that. I just think that is a sloppiness. But that was the running theme of the game. Unforced errors. We've got 90% passing accuracy, yet we can all remember sloppy passes from Saliba, sloppy passes from Saka, Havertz, Martinelli, pretty much everyone, and then at the end, Zinchenko. So it's those little bits, and it always seems to be in dangerous positions. We had it last season with Martin Odegaard. He tends to, if he does lose the ball, it's in and around the same position as where Saka is there, and then they usually got on a break. So for me, it's about decisions. We're not learning from our decisions. We've got slightly better from pre-season with the sloppiness and the unforced errors, which was something which was getting on my nerves quite a bit during pre-season. But those things, they need to be sorted out. We're a possession-based team where we thrive on our good passing and slick passing and taking risks with our pass. And if we're not gonna tidy that up, that's going to be a serious problem in our game.
Do you think he's trying to shoehorn Havertz in?
I'm not buying into that one. I know it's the one thing that's going around a lot. I would put it down. I'd put it more down to the Tim. I think this formation was coming anyway. He's like Timber for a while. Timber was a player that they brought in, so I think it would be potentially Timber playing. Eventually getting into this team. But I also think that the fact that Zinchenko's been out, and he has been out for nearly 4 months now, has been a massive decider on why we're playing this system as well, because we play the inverted system, and there's no players that can play inverted when Zinchenko's not there. You're having to put someone in that role that doesn't usually play that role.
Mm.
It's the reason why he got rid of Kieran Tierney, because he can't do it. Nuno Tavares can't do it. So he's opted for Thomas Partey in that right back role. And I just hope it doesn't last too long, because, yeah, it could be a problem. Let's go quickly to some of the comments in here. Rice says, not panic stations. Man City come within 5. Boys, I'll get to your comment in a minute. We're going to be speaking about Emil Smith-Rowe a bit later on. Tinkering too much cost Emery his job. Arteta better sharpen up quick time. I don't think Arteta's in.
Yeah, I mean, just on this tinkering thing, he's not tinkering. He's trying a new system. Mm. He's not tinkering. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that Zinchenko and Timber have been injured, then you would have Timber, as you've already said, as the right inverted, as Zinchenko as the left inverted. Yeah, and that would be fine. So we don't know how that would have panned out. Havertz might have played better, then the system might have worked. I mean, and we wouldn't have seen Partey on there. It still goes back to the fact that I don't suppose probably anybody could have been in that position on Saturday. Just as Saka absolutely made a terrible pass. So you do have to look at that. It's after that which really problem. But I heard someone make a good point. It wasn't my point, but I 100% agreed with it when I heard it. Nobody last year, when Man City last season, I mean, the first few games, they was trying something different. They was trying new things, new players in new positions. And everybody was turning around and they was going, Man City look off it this year, didn't they? They don't look right, do they? They don't look right. And people were calling them out on it and they were saying, no, they're trying something new. They're picking up an odd point. I think they drew against Brentford. I think they a few games later, I think they drew against Palace. They won a couple, messing about with this new system. So this ain't, but no one sort of was having a go at Man City then. And that's all that Arsenal are doing now. So I just want to put it out there to people that, there's no panic at the moment. Do you know what I mean? He's just trying something new.
Yeah, but Man City can afford to do that because of the strength of their team. We cannot afford Man City by October to be 7-8 points clear of us with their experimenting.
No, I know. Yeah, no, my point is, during that time they was experimenting, they drew it home to Crystal Palace, and I think they drew away to Brentford. Do you know what I mean? We've just done the same thing and drew it home to Fulham after 3 games. So let's see where we are in 8 games. If we've drawn 3 by then and lost 1, then I think there's reason to panic. But I don't blame Arteta for trying to play something different. I blame Arteta at the moment for making an absolutely ricket in picking the wrong team on Saturday, probably, because that was probably, along with probably Bukayo Saka and Martinelli and a couple of others, Mikel Arteta for me was I hate to say it, was probably one of the main reasons that we lost that game.
Do you think that the way we're playing with the inverted fullbacks benefits our forward line?
Not with the wrong players. No, sorry, mate. Go on.
No, I'm saying I think because when we had Zinchenko, it made us a better attacking force. So I don't think that's the answer. And I don't actually blame Arteta for us getting beat. He takes a little bit of the blame, Steve, but I'm not blaming him. I'll tell you why. Because his substitutions got us into a winning position.
Yeah, there was
very good. So therefore, it's not his fault that our defence was looking at, I don't know what they're looking at, their phones or something, our defence when a corner come in. So you can't blame him for that. You might, I suppose you want to be a real critic and be harsh and say, well, he should have prepared them better. But what more can he do than tell them what to do? Corner, you're marking or zone or whatever. Well, you've got to do it. For 11 men with one hold, as I say, holding his hands, to not be able to mark 8 of them, I don't know, can't get my head around.
Do you think we just switched off?
100%.
Because there was a time, not last season, but the season before, where I think we didn't concede a goal from a corner until like maybe the last few games of the season.
Correct.
And I think it was only like one goal we conceded from a corner, which was an outstanding record. So I don't know how we've gone from that to where we are at the moment.
No.
Where we're conceding from set pieces, and we weren't great from set pieces last season. So we seem to have fallen off a cliff on that.
Yeah, but on just to sort of like again, you're absolutely right with the Arteta thing. He see what he did change it. He brought on the players, and obviously was 100 times better. The ones that come on changed the game. I totally agree with you. But he played. Keogh ain't the left back. He's a centre half. He played him as left back.
Correct.
Right?
I agree with you.
Keogh was just like, he might as well have not been there. He might as well have been a statue. Didn't offer anything. And we'll probably get
forward. Not going forward, no.
Well, and he's not an inverted fullback, is he? He wasn't coming into midfield, so he wasn't doing anything. But that's not his fault. That's not Keogh's fault. He's a centre half. He did play Thomas Partey at right back again. So I understand that he wants to try the something new differently, but if you haven't got the players, then the person, if you haven't got, he knows that doesn't work. He must know that doesn't work with Partey there. It certainly doesn't work with Keogh there. So that's two players you're putting out of position straight away from the off. And the decision to drop Eddie Nketiah was ridiculous.
You say that.
Absolutely ridiculous decision.
I'm sorry. People were screaming.
I'm sorry.
For Trossard to play, weren't
they?
They're
wrong. Were they wrong? They're absolutely wrong. They're wrong. Look at the one Saka missed with his head. If Eddie's there, he's putting it in the back of the net.
Oh,
it comes on the pitch. Goal. It's a ridiculous decision.
There was a fair few people calling for Trossard to be brought in. Even after, because I remember being on my lives and just people saying, "No, you got to bring in Trossard." And I'm like, "Yeah, but Eddie scored. Eddie got an assist from won the penalty in the last game. He scored in the first game, and that's why I got to go back to it. If Balogun does what Eddie does this season, are we talking about selling Balogun? Are we talking about Trossard should be starting? I think we've got to give Eddie credit for when it's due, and it's about due. It's about due now. This kid is earned.
It's well due.
This kid has earned having a bad game. It's not every time he has a bad game, sell him. He's not good enough for this club. No, he actually is. He actually is now. Like, we saw him in pre-season, didn't have a good pre-season. And in that last game against Barcelona, he came in and flipped the switch. And he started the first game of the season, had a good game. Missed a couple of sitters against Crystal Palace. We're on his back. Got dropped for the next one. Came on and made a difference. So he's well within his rights to get a bit of leeway now if he has a not so great game. But he does need to start being a bit more clinical with his finishing. He does need to be a bit more ruthless. But we bide his time now. We just got to bide our time and wait.
I think he's got to start. I mean, for me, I don't know. I mean, for me, he starts against Man United.
Jesus couldn't pick his feet up on Saturday when he came on. He couldn't pick his feet up. Jesus,
he's not ready. And
he's not ready.
Jesus come back from a 4-month injury, come back in, do knee slides on a celebration 3 weeks into coming back. He's out with another knee surgery to fix the problems that he was having with his knee. It's not a time to be rushing Jesus back.
No,
it's early on in the season. We can play Trossard, we can play Nketiah, and if we have to, we can play Havertz and slowly bring Jesus back into the team. There's no need to rush him. Definitely no need. So quickly before we move on to our next topic, Steve, system change or be patient?
I'm all for the system. I love the system because I know what it could bring, and I think we will be a better team in the long run for it. But at this moment in time, we haven't got the personnel. Mm-hmm. I think we've got to go and buy someone in the window. Timber's gone and got injured. We can't go the whole season without a right back. Someone who can. We've got to. We've got to. If I'm Mikel Arteta, I'm putting my Mikel Arteta mask on here, and I'm sitting here now. I'm sitting there thinking, I need to go and get a right back quick.
Mm-hmm.
Because if Partey plays there the whole season, then, and that's the way he wants to play, then we're finishing 10th. Because we're in trouble. It could be just the littlest thing like that. Yes, we can go back to the 4 at the back, like, you know, with the Gabriel and the Saliba and the Zinchenko and the White. We can go back to that, and people would obviously then call for Partey to come into the midfield and Declan Rice. But then, does that not take away what we've got going forward with them? Because then you've got 2 DMs, and when do Arsenal play with 2 DMs? Never. That's why Havertz was brought in. It's an awkward one. You know, Xhaka I think we're realising, you know, if you're gonna start playing, go back to the way we was last season, then and play with a like with 4 at the back, then you don't sell Granit Xhaka. He must have known. Because Havertz isn't Granit Xhaka to play that system.
No, but you can definitely play Rice in there. Rice can do a job as a number 8, and especially with playing Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea. I can't see why that wouldn't be an option.
Yeah. What? Yeah, I suppose you could do.
Declan Rice and Thomas Partey.
What, Rice played a Havertz role, you mean?
Yeah, well, a bit deep, because Havertz is playing a very advanced 8. Havertz is essentially playing a similar role to Odegaard, maybe slightly deeper, and he's a better tackler than Odegaard.
Yeah, a lot of people calling for Gino as well, but to come in against Man United
instead of who?
Partey, if they play in the 4.
I mean, it's an option. It's an option,
yeah.
But I don't think the Man United game calls necessarily for Jorginho. I'm not against it at all, but it does. I don't think it calls for Jorginho. Yeah, Mel, system change or be patient?
We can't afford to be patient. We've got to have a system change. We have got a right back. It's called Ben White. We should play him there. Saliba and Gabriel, which we might talk about. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And Shevchenko on the left. We cannot afford to have experiments against top teams. And United, like it or not like it, it's a game we cannot afford to lose. I know it's early in the season, but I'm talking about not because of the points tally, which it is, but the momentum. It just take their legs away from us if we manage to get 1 point out of 6 from 2 home games. So I think we've got to change and start from. And also, I think that you're saying that if we have 4 at the back, we can't attack as much, but you can only attack really when you've got a good defence. If you've got a good defence, you've got the freedom to attack more. So I think we can attack with 4 at the back, as we did last season.
Yeah, if you've got that number 8 who can do that, get forward. You know, that's the problem. So we had Xhaka last year who was doing that. The problem we've got is that Rice will have to do the Xhaka job, if you like. Can he do that?
Why can't he?
What we don't know. We don't know yet, do we? We don't know.
I think
I'm pretty 100% sure he could.
Yeah.
You could play Rice as number 6 and play Havertz in the 8 and then Odegaard. You could do that. Then you're playing the one. Then you're playing the one. Then you're playing the 1 DM, aren't you? Well, you still could play the 4 at the back. You could play Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko, Rice, Havertz, Odegaard, Nketiah, Saka, Martinelli.
I think another reason why we're not playing Rice in that centre on his own is because he's not ready for it yet. Like, he's only just come over from West Ham. He is nowhere near ready to play that single pivot, boss the midfield on the turn. He's not there yet. He'll get there maybe in a few months' time, but him as a player, he's not got that get the ball on the half turn, bang, bang, bang. He's not got that yet. Rice is get the ball, turn, pass, take it again. or I've got space, I can move. I'm just spraying the ball there and there. He's not got it in his locker to get that ball on that turn and spin, knowing full well what's behind him. He will get there because that's what he has to get to. Because that's why I think Arteta's bought him. So he can play that single pivot role and boss that midfield. Right now, he's not up to it. But we'll see when that comes along. So I'd like to see a Rice, Havertz, Odegaard, but not against Man United. Not just yet.
Yeah, that's fair shot.
There's a lot to unpack there. It was this Rice says definitely calls for Ben White, right back versus Rashford, and Ronald says the same. Danger of United, Rashford on the break. We can't play Partey at the right back in this game. So it seems like a unanimous decision. Partey
before we go on, what do you think he'll do against United? Not what we would do. What do you think he's going to do?
I think he'll stick.
Melv?
I think he'll stick, Steve.
Do you think he'll keep the same team?
Yeah. Similar. Very similar.
Play what, 3 at the back?
Yeah.
Kears?
Yeah. This is Mikel Arteta. Even if he wanted to, with everyone saying you need to change, it's not going to work. I will show you it will work. This Mikel Arteta is going to stick with it. He ain't having it.
Are you on the bus?
Yeah.
Can't Ben White play as an inverted?
No, he can't. That's what it boils down to. He can't. But hopefully Zinchenko's back in the team and we get to see Ben White back at right back, Gabriel back in the team. Because I think Gabriel needs to come back in the team. We'll speak about that now. With the likes of Gabriel not getting a game so far this season, Emil Smith-Rowe linked to Chelsea. Some of our favourite players have been linked with moves away from the Emirates Stadium. Steve, obviously we've seen now that Smith-Rowe's bid or approach has been turned down. Well, still with the door left slightly ajar if the price is right, but I think that goes for any player. If the price is right, people are willing to sell. But what's your thoughts on it as a fan? Smith-Rowe only a few seasons ago scoring 10 goals in the league, playing still while injured the following season. His injury gets too much for him, has to go in for surgery, misses half the season and can't really get his way back into the squad. Talk that he would be an integral part to the team this season came from the manager's mouth himself. Smith-Rowe showing his determination to be back in the team by turning down an opportunity to have a break in the summer and going straight from the England camp straight to play out with Arsenal. But now we hear talk that Arsenal are open to selling him and that Chelsea have made an approach. What's your thoughts?
This is an hard one because, I've got to try and sort of split, from being a fan to trying to think of it like what Arsenal would do and what his role in the team is. As a fan, I love Emil Smith-Rowe and I don't want him to go and I want him to stay there forever. But, maybe that's me being selfish. If I look at it from the team's point of view, it's very difficult to see where he's going to get game time. It's especially if Fabio Vieira, sort of, he seems to always bring Vieira on and not Smith-Rowe and not the other way round. And sometimes you find it difficult to see where he can fit both of them in through the season. He may get League Cup games and maybe he get FA Cup games. And as a fan, I hope that he's happy. He's happy with that. They would take a price for him. I was told by the biggest Arsenal source around that it could happen if a big price came in. So it isn't out of the questions that he could go this window. He certainly wouldn't go to somewhere like Chelsea, Arsenal. There's no, when I asked a question, the person I asked who answered me, it just gave me a big laughing emoji, and I didn't need to go any further than that. So Chelsea's not somewhere I would expect him to go unless they come out with something that you just can't turn down. It's a difficult one. It is a really difficult one. I just hope he stays. I hope he stays. He's a great player. Arteta's ruthless. If a bid come in, but I just think, look, I think he's got a couple of years left on his contract at Will Smith Rowe, and I just hope he digs his heels in, similar to like Eddie Nketiah, and just fights, and trying to win his place. So yeah, very, very difficult one for me to answer that, because I can see Arsenal's point of view if a big price come in, but from a fan's point of view, I just pray don't leave.
Melvin, I know you're a big fan of Will Smith Rowe. Is it surprising you're seeing links to clubs like Chelsea and Arsenal willing to sell?
I can understand why he would want to go to Chelsea, because that means that this season he can play for any team in Europe, because they'll probably loan him out because they've got too many players. But seriously, no, I would not want him.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's not going to get enough time at Arsenal, how's he going to get enough time at Chelsea? There's not enough shirts to go around at Chelsea. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
And another attacking midfielder as well.
Exactly.
They are looking for. They haven't really got. They've got Casado, Fernandes, and Gallagher.
Mount they bought, didn't they?
Yeah, but Casado,
Manchester United. They got Casado, and they got Fernandes. And Gallagher's better than Gallagher. Gallagher probably.
Lavia, is it, or something? Kieran Lavia.
Yeah, Lavia, Casado, and Gallagher. Smith Rowe's an attacking midfielder. And Cuckoo. Who else they got? Who's
Carney Chukwuka? Where's he play?
Yeah, he's just got a long-term injury, isn't he?
I do not want to see him go, because, as you know, he's one of my favourite players. It could. I said today that basically this could be the same as Chelsea selling Salah and Kevin De Bruyne. Right, they weren't in the team. They weren't actually doing it for whatever reason. I don't even remember why they got sold, but they sold them, and they went. Look what we went. Look what went through our hands. He was there. He was throughout. It doesn't matter if he's come through the youth team. It might help a little bit, but if a player is that good, it doesn't really matter. He's such a good player. He brings our team, in my opinion, alive when he's fit, and that's the thing we might have to talk about. But when he's fit, he gets people off their seats. He changes from defence to mid to attack the ball very, very quickly. He can score goals. He can make goals. He can run past people. He can interchange with. He's got it all. This kid, and just because he's had 1 year of injury. All right, half a season of injury. Fair enough. This season he hasn't been given a chance. In fact, when he did play, was it pre-season? He looked very good. Or was it in the Charity Shield he came on near the end and was ridiculous what he did on the touchline a couple of times. So I don't know why we're thinking about selling him. Let him be patient. I mean, we've got a squad of 20 now that can get in the first 11. Let's go for it. I mean, look, we've got two goalkeepers who know they're not going to play every week. So one of those is going to be got to be patient. So I want him to be patient. I want Arsenal to be patient. I want to see where we are in 12 months' time, because I think he is terrific, and I'll be very sad to see him go. Watching him has been.
I agree.
Russ says, "I'm all for selling Emil Smith Rowe, just not to Chelsea. If Fabio Vieira is above you in the pecking order, then it's time to move on." Ronak says, "What position do you see Emil Smith Rowe actually getting in the team? Wide left, number 8." Steve, where do you see Smith Rowe's best position?
I've always seen him as someone who can play sort of in the. I don't think he can do the number 8 position, because he's not defensive enough.
No,
he can't play that there. That's that. I know people have said about playing in the number 8, but you can't. There's no way. For me,
that's why when people keep saying why is Havertz playing over Smith Rowe? It's just like they're not the same.
They're not the same.
Smith Rowe is not a good tackler. Excellent with running with the ball. Excellent attacking. Like he's one of the best dribblers in the club, probably that I can remember.
Yeah. I mean,
gifted.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, Havertz, he's got strength. You know, he's got an incredible engine. Havertz, so he fits that number 8 position. Do you know what I mean? Eventually, hopefully. But I've always see. You know, Emil Smith Rowe, I've always seen him as as the number 10, someone who plays in the hole. And we've got 3 players really who play there, and that's Odegaard, Vieira, and Emil Smith Rowe. But then saying that against Fulham, you know, Vieira was played out on the right hand side, didn't he? Quite a bit. He was playing out on the wings, wasn't he? Did if you noticed? He was sort of. I mean, he got his cross, got the penalty. He was out on the wing, weren't he? And then he was over the other side. He was out on that wing. He was absolutely everywhere. Like Melvin said, he was a man possessed. So maybe Vieira could be that Saka replacement, that we could play him out on the right, and then we could play Emil Smith Rowe, you know, as the Odegaard option. That's a possibility. You know, hopefully Arteta's looking at it like that. I mean, I've talked myself into it actually. You know, I think Vieira can sort of do that type of job. I think he could play all over the place on the right. He can switch right, switch left, come on for Martinelli or Saka. Saka probably most of the time because he needs obviously some rest. And I think there's a space for Emil Smith Rowe in the number 10. I just feel that's his best position.
Melvin, where do you think Smith Rowe's best position is?
I think it's wide left. But when I say wide, I don't mean hogging the touchline. I mean 5-10 yards in, playing on the left-hand side, when he can go past the player on both sides and driving at the fullback, driving between the fullback sometimes in the centre half. I think is so dangerous because, as you said, Kieran, he can run with the ball. And if he gets the ball near the area, they won't be able to touch him or be frightened to touch him. So that's where I think his best position is for me.
Do you think though, Mel, there'd be in danger? Do you think his place in the team would be more in danger though if that was his position because of like Reece Nelson, because of Trossard who comes on from? Then you got Martinelli. I mean, how far in the pecking order would Smith Rowe be then?
That's a good point. But at the moment, he's not injured at the moment, is he? Reece Nelson, we've again forgotten about. It's a shame that he's not played a bit on the right a bit more. Reece Nelson as one of Saka's replacements or the 30-minute lad, because as I said before, I want our players to come off 30 minutes to go, not 5 minutes to go. We've got the players now, let's do it. So for me, it's a bit of a strange one because I do rate Trossard. He's been brilliant, and his best position, in my opinion, is very similar to Emil Smith Rowe's position, playing wide on the left. So it is a difficult one. And it's something that the manager, that's what he's paid for, to work it out.
Yeah, he certainly is. What's he saying? How will Smith Rowe get games at Chelsea? They have Sterling, Mudryk, Menduki, Enzo, and Cuckoo, and probably others occupying similar positions as him. No, I agree. And I agree with Melvin, who says I think that Smith Rowe's best position was on the left. We were on this show every post-match reaction talking about who should start, Martinelli or Emil Smith Rowe. That doesn't even seem like that long ago. But yeah, I think I wonder how much injuries and reliability is sort of forced Mikel Arteta's hand in these situations, because we've seen Tierney, who was our left back at one point, been moved out of the team. We've seen Emil Smith Rowe had a long-term injury, been moved out of the team. Maybe he's can't really rely on these players to be fit, so he's being ruthless and moving him on, or potentially just get replacements for him. But we will see. The other one, Gabriel. Melv, like to see Gabriel back in the team on the weekend?
100%. It doesn't even come close. 100%. We're not the same team without him. Because I think I've said it here before. forgive me if I have, but I'm going to say it anyway. We haven't had a decent centre-half parting for 15 years. We've got one, and now we've split them up, potentially. It can't happen. It mustn't happen. We've got to get him in the team. I'm not saying he's the greatest thing, but him and Saliba form a formidable partnership. In what, not only defensively, but he's also good at corners the other end as well. He's an aggressive centre-half, whereas Saliba's not that aggressive. He's more of I call Saliba a kind of a sweeper centre-half, if that makes sense. And they complement each other so well. I just cannot believe that we're thinking of selling him. You know, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Whatever you get for him, you ain't going to be able to replace him. Sometimes you've got to look at it and go, you know what? We bought him. We took a punt. Cost us 25, was it? We took a punt.
Yeah.
It went well. Don't get rid of him. Let's see the fruits of our optimism and reap them now. We've got a young centre half who's solid, strong, got the right attitude, in my opinion. Let's not just throw it away for a few quid.
Yeah,
unless there's something going on that we don't know about.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's many people out there that will pick apart Gabriel's name and say he's clumsy, he makes mistakes, and look, he does. But you'll be hard pushed to find a 25-year-old defender who, with this experience now that he's gained from playing at Arsenal and in Europe, that doesn't make certain mistakes in games. But if you actually look at the things that he needs to get out of his game, what he has at his disposal is so much better than what he needs to fix in his game. The slight things he needs to fix in his game are very, very small. The attributes that he has as a player will, I believe, he will eventually be a world-class defender, because he's aggressive. He can read the game. He's good in the air, and like Mel says, he complements Saliba, and to get that sort of partnership so early in their careers as well. You're talking about a partnership that can go on for 5-6 years from now. We should definitely not be looking to split up. Mel?
I hate making comparisons, but they remind me, the two of them, of Ferdinand and the Vidic of Manchester United.
I know what you mean. That's fair. One's very aggressive, one's a player. That is a good shout. Steve, Gabriel, what's your thoughts on the situation?
Well, I echo everything you've both said. There's no use repeating it. I go back to last season when I said I think he can be as good as Virgil van Dijk, and I think people laughed at me at the time, and thought I was talking ridiculous, but I really genuinely thought he was that good. One thing that I keep sort of tossing about in my head, if you like, I would bring him in. As I say, I would go back to the 4 this weekend, and Gabriel and Saliba in it. But if going forward, Arteta's going to play 3 at the back, I can't believe I'm saying this. Might as well sell him. No point.
But what about your other options?
No point. There's no point in being there, is there?
But what about your other options?
In what respect,
So your other options in your centre back role, because they're getting rid of Holding, is Jakob Kiwior.
Exactly. But he obviously, he doesn't seem to be in his plans, does he? Arteta's, when you play in that 3 at the back.
But you're weakening your team.
Well, you're weakening your team. I can't comment on how good, if Gabriel can play 3 at the back. Well, I've never seen him playing on the left side of the 3 at the back. I've never seen it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never seen it. So, I'm right. Okay, I'm getting into it. What's Arteta thinking? What's he thinking? Obviously, you've not played him the first 3 games of the season. We've played 3 at the back. You haven't played him. You obviously don't fancy him, right? Playing in that position, because you're playing people like Kiwior in there, or you're shoehorning Ben White in there. Mm-hmm. for some reason you don't fancy him. So if that's how we're going to go on, you might as well sell him. You might as well get 80 million for him and sell him and bring in someone who's like another Timber, who's as good as what Gabriel is in the air, with his strength, with his tackling. He's not someone who can play in that position. And, that's unfair on him, because I agree with what you both said. Him and Saliba, we haven't had a centre-back partnership like that for donkeys. And it's sad, but it's pretty plain to see where Arteta's thinking and what he is thinking. And probably the rumours and all that's going about Gabriel leaving, maybe there's something in it. I've not heard anything sort of concrete that he's going anywhere. I think all that like 100 million would tell you to go away. I think that's 100 million for Gabriel. I think you if you can find someone 60 million who's Arteta, like, I don't know who there is. I don't know, a Terence Trent-Arnold type player who can do that job, for instance. I don't know. I can't think. I'm just picking players off the top of the head. But I don't know what you two guys think. I mean, if he is going to play that way, is there any point? Is there any point in being there? Should we sell
in my eyes, you're sticking all your eggs in one basket, and why are we not be in a similar situation as we were to last season? If we're changing up our game because we got too predictable, why is changing us into two inverted fullbacks? Why is that not going to get predictable? It's a formation that Man City are playing themselves this season, yet they are able to keep hold of all of their defenders, plus they've bought in Josko Gvardiol.
Yeah, who's unreal, actually.
We are losing one of our best defenders and playing a centre midfielder in at right back. Something ain't right. Something's not.
No, I agree.
It's not the same. And we're both playing the same formations. Like, we've decided to change up. Man City decided to change up. We've both gone for inverted fullbacks. Yet Man City are able to keep theirs, what they had from last season, and they're bringing up the standards a bit by bringing Gvardiol. Yet we're dropping the standards by losing one of ours.
It looks to me, Kieran, that he's at the beginning of the season. He's sat in his office. He's gone, right, what I want is Timber playing inverted. I want Ben White obviously on the right side of the two, right, because he's right side centre back, plays there, and obviously Saliba never gets drops. He's like he starts every week no matter what. And then obviously on the other side you've got Zinchenko. Where's Gabriel going? And Gabriel's too good to sit on the bench. Too good. Now, if we go back to the 4, like last season, if we sort of wipe that 3 altogether, then great. Gabriel starts every game of the week. But if Arteta's going to play 3 1 week, 4 1 week, mix it up, then a lot of the time you're going to see the Partys and the Gabriels on the bench. And I don't think it's any coincidence of the fact that both of them players, there's been rumblings of them leaving.
Yeah, but the only problem is Yuri and Timber got injured in the first game of the season. So if you did have your sights set on playing Yuri and Timber as that inverted right back with Zinchenko as the inverted left back, it's out the window unless you're going to bring someone in. It's not. For me, it don't work. It don't work. And I go back to my statement I made before. Surely, I'm all for system changes. I'm all for switching it up and rotating and bringing in new players and whatnot. But it's exactly that. It's horses for courses. It's you're playing the right team against a certain team, not you're playing this formation against every team. That doesn't make sense to me. Mix it about. Rotate the team. The reason why we was in trouble last season is because we couldn't rotate because the standards beneath the first 11 were not good enough. The drop-off was too much. Now we've brought up the standards of those players. Where what? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me.
We're not really getting anywhere because we don't know what Arteta's going to do we? You know,
we
Gabriel's for me is too good to sit on the bench. You know, he can't. He's too good.
Yeah, but I'm not selling Gabriel just because he's too good to sit on the bench. Like,
but he
he's
ain't.
got a
Is he going to?
4-year
Is he going to want?
contract.
Is he going to want to sit on the bench?
Like, I don't. Like, in my eyes, I don't care. I want the best team, and the best team is you. I might need you next week. I might need you in 50 minutes because the formation isn't working. In fact, so-and-so's got injured. You're coming back in the team. We're going back to the 4 at the back. So, for me, there's no point in bringing up the standards of the squad if by the end of the transfer window you can't tempt yourself from selling some of the players because you might make a bit of money. Like, it's frustrating. We'll quickly go through the comments before we finish. I don't think it was keeping Gabriel out of the limelight because of the transfer rumours. Surely it's just to keep him wrapped up in cotton wool until the transfer window closes. I think we all hope that because I don't want to see Gabriel go. Charles says, Steve, what's the story on Osman?
Yeah, I mean, I've been told that there's been contacts. There was talks about Arsenal bringing in Osman. Not this window, next window. So there's been no contact with the player. There's just been contact with Roberto Calendar, who's his agent, and the Napoli president, who's basically said that he's not for sale this summer. But there has been some concrete talks with them. So yeah, one to keep an eye on, not for this summer, but for next number. If you read it, the article, it does say that. So yeah. But it's the same with Kieran Tierney. You know, what's gone on there? I mean that's the most ridiculous.
The Kieran Tierney situation, it's been going on rumbling for about 2 seasons now, and Tomiyasu playing at left back against Liverpool, and then the following week when we said it was tactical against Liverpool was quite damning. I think that it was written back then.
It makes no sense. My point is, mate, it makes no sense. I don't get it. An absolute ridiculous. One of the worst decisions Arteta's ever made. I cannot get my head around it. Not one bit. Yes, he can't play an inverted fullback role. We've got
Ben White.
What? Similar to a Ben White. You know, he can't play the inverted fullback, but he's our best left back defender, better than Tomiyasu. He's a better defender for me than Tomiyasu. He's not even in a left back. But we've got him there. He's a better going forward than Tomiyasu, right? So for me, he's a better left back than Tomiyasu. End story. Kiar's a centre back, right? He can't play inverted anyway, and he's useless going forward. Not his fault. He's a centre back. Kieran Tierney can go forward, create chances, score goals, good defender, great to bring on. But we sent him out on loan for nothing. Just so someone can pay his wages. I've never heard anything so ridiculous in all my life. No one can explain to me how that makes any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, well, let's hope it doesn't bite us in the arse by the end of the season, along with Thomas Partey at right back. And let's hope that we keep hold of Gabriel, because there's one player I don't want to see go. Plus, he's a great character as well, Gabriel. Seems good around the team. Love his energy, love his passion around the pitch. So, let's make sure we keep him. That is all we have time for. Thank you for joining us today. Make sure you come and join us for the post-match reaction for the Man United game, and every Tuesday at 8 o'clock on the Arsenal show on KS1 TV. Thank you for joining us tonight, Melvin. I nearly called you Jerome there.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much.
Shout out to Steve as well.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
All right. Peace out, people. Oh, comment section. Thank you very much for
buzzing tonight.
Simon, Boyce, Ryan in there, Russ, Rocco, Ronco, and Charles at the end there as well. Peace out, people. Stay safe and wash your hands.